Hello.
Hello, my brother. How do you say hello in Kirwanda?
Mulaho.
Mulaho.
Yeah,
Good to see
mulaho.
you, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you, thank you. Can I say good morning or good afternoon?
Yes, it's still good mornings here. We say in Kenya, habari yako or jambo sana. Hello, how are you?
Habari yako.
Yeah, Missouri.
You welcome on my show. You're welcome.
Yes, I'd say, what is that? Salama, salama, some people say.
Okay.
Good to see you, brother.
It's a pleasure. Would you please go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Okay, yeah. My name is Lyndon Hutchison. At least that's my American name. I've started to now embrace my Kenyan names because most Americans don't really know their last name because we took the name of the slave master in most cases. My wife in Kenya has named me Muze Wega, which is one of the Kikuyu tribe names for he is good or he is a good man. So I'm starting to use Muze Wega in Kenya now instead of Lyndon Hutchison, which is my American name. But I'm a Black American who relocated to Kenya back in November of 2024. And I've been living here in Nakuru. The background you see I'm in a village called Salai, where we're establishing our mission base. So that's a brief little intro for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Would you tell us, please, what do you do for a living?
Okay, well, I'm a business owner. I own a private security company that's based in Atlanta, Georgia. We do armed and unarmed security and property protection all across the state of Georgia. I'm also in ministry. I've been in ministry for over 30 years. I'm also the director of a humanitarian outreach organization called Global Missions International, which focuses on humanitarian aid in East Africa, in Southern Africa, like Malawi. We're looking at Rwanda, and here in Kenya, we want to help the most vulnerable people. And so I'm just a global citizen for life, for living. That's what I do for a living, is I restore people's hope and I rebuild people's lives. That's what I really do for a living. The other things are just what I do to generate income so that I can do what I really do for a living, if you understand what I'm saying.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Can I tell you what I do for a living as well?
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear that.
I save lives for a living.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. A lot of people always think what they do for a living is where they earn their money, but that's not what you do for a living. So I love to hear that you know your purpose, and that's why you can find joy and contentment in life. That's encouraging for me from a young man to have already known your purpose and how to articulate that purpose. That's a blessing, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a nurse here in Rwanda, and also I run this podcast.
Excellent. It's always great for me to get that cultural exchange between people. Thankfully, I've had the opportunity to be in the military where I traveled to every continent until now, except for Africa. So I've had the chance to interact with people from different cultures, different languages, different customs, and it's helped make me the well-rounded person that I hope that I have come to be today. And so it's my pleasure to learn more about Rwanda and about you as a person and about what life is like for the Africans in Africa outside of the American media propaganda. We want to hear it straight from the source. I think Africans know more about Africa than Americans' media portrayal of Africa. So it's my pleasure to also interact with you, my brother.
Yeah. To kick things off, I would like to know, America is the greatest country in the world, they say. The greatest country in the world. Why would somebody like you want to move to developing country, Kenya? Why? What inspired you?
Well, because America is not the greatest country in the world. It's just the latest greatest country. Before America was great, Britain was great. Before Britain was great, Roman Empire was great. Before the Roman Empire was great, the Babylonian Empire was great. America is just the latest, greatest nation. It is not the greatest and is on the decline. So that's one of the reasons why America is not the place for me, because okay, I think my internet may be going. We'll try to, okay. It's not the greatest for me because I see the emerging economies and the emerging opportunities that are in Africa. America and Europe, they all get their resources from Africa, okay? China gets their resources from Africa. America doesn't have the resources that need to power our cell phones and our internet communication. Those resources come from Africa. So I want to be where things are moving and growing, not where things are dying and decaying. And on top of that, my wife is Kenyan. That's another reason why I'm in Kenya. All right. So, and plus, I don't know where people's religious spectrum is or spiritual life is, but also have a humanitarian calling to help the most vulnerable or those people who have been most neglected in society. And for me, that's Africa. Africa has been one of the most underserved economies, underserved continents. And I think that it's time for people of color, particularly the benefit that I have being from America, regardless of how my ancestors ended up there. There are certain privileges that come along with being an American citizen. There are certain privileges that I have being born in America that was not a choice of mine, just by the grace of God that I happened to be born there. But the resources that I've been able to accumulate there, I can spend here in Africa. And that's one of my missions with my Global Missions International, to help the most vulnerable people in Africa, widows, orphans, refugees, with sustainable housing. Everybody deserves the right to have a standard of living where they have good housing, good water, good food, and opportunities to create an income for themselves. That's my mission here in Africa, other than loving my wife and enjoying life myself.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You told me it's been almost a year in Kenya.
It's been a little over a year. I came in November of 2024. I'm not one of those persons. I hear a lot of Black Americans say, I've always wanted to go back to the motherland. I always dreamed of going to Africa. That was never my dream. I was living a good life in America, still have a good life in America. So I had no inkling of moving to Africa, even though I had been in contact with many African people from various countries, including Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, Liberia, Ethiopia. I've been in contact with many of them through my online Bible college, which we've been running for the last 32 years. So being in Africa allows Black Americans who have a little access to USDs. I always tell my Kenyan family, you don't need to go to America. What you need is USD. And if you can find a way to generate US dollars from Africa, you would not need or want to go to America. So one of the pipelines I'm trying to do is create opportunities where people can learn how to get access to USD while you're in Africa. And so I have online programs for my online school. My daughter here in Kenya, she's my administrator for my school. Whenever the students pay their tuition, she gets paid in USD while she's living in Africa. Okay. I had another brother actually from Rwanda with my security company, because we have officers working overnight, because when it's nighttime in America, it's daytime in Africa. So he would be my contact person to manage my officers online, to do their check-ins for safety checks. He would go to my Google account. He would have access to my officers' login information. Whenever they log in, he would acknowledge that they were safe. When they didn't, he would click a button on his phone from Rwanda, and it would ring my phone in America to let me know that something was wrong. He was getting paid in USD. These are the type of pipelines. These are the type of pipelines that we're looking to create to bring USD to Africa.
No.
Okay, so I'm sure American, like in Kenya, they're called shillings. One USD is a 128, roughly. One USD is roughly 128 shillings. Okay? So that
Here
means...
here it's over 1,000. 1,000.
So American dollars go even further. It's more value versus Rwanda. Okay, I see. So that fits my example of what I'm saying. In America, we have what we call Social Security. That's for people who reach a certain age, which is generally around 62. If you've been working for me, I've been working since I was 18 years old. So I get Social Security. You pay into the system every year that you work. Your employer takes out a certain amount of tax. When you reach 62, you can claim retirement from the U.S. government. So for me, I'm 61 now. Next year, this time, I can claim my U.S. retirement, okay? Which it'll roughly be around $1,500 a month,
a month?
$1,500 a month, which I'll get for the rest of my life. Okay. In America, that's what your apartment costs. So that doesn't take you far. In Kenya, 1,500 USD. Yeah, you're set. You're set. Let me
Yeah.
tell you what. Let me tell you what me and my wife live on. The two of us, this is all of our expenses, including food, internet, travel, eating out. We pay less than $700 a month for everything.
Less done.
Less than 700 USD.
Okay.
That's everything. Housing,
Everything.
food, everything. That includes apartment, electricity, internet, water bill, groceries, travel, eating out. See, this is the life that Black Americans can have if they're not trying to live larger than their means, because that's part of the problem in America. When people make a lot of money, it neutralizes itself because they spend a lot of money. So it neutralizes itself. You don't ever get ahead because you're always spending to your level of income. And this is true for any country. You should live below your wage. For me,
Yeah.
I like having actual money in the bank. Okay? Instead of having a house that makes me look rich, I'd rather actually be rich. So we have to learn how to manage our finances in a responsible way, because a house is not going to make you happy. It's the home you establish within that house that will make you happy. I live less than my means. I live in what they call we built a Mabati house here, which is what the average Kenyan may live in. I believe in living local. That's why I don't live in Nairobi. I've already seen everything Nairobi has to offer. America has everything Nairobi has. I've come to experience Africa, not to experience America in Africa, which, no, everybody has their own choice in life. But for me, I want to experience the Kenyan people. I want to see how the average Kenyan lives. So we live in the village where I am now. So our construction workers, they live in the village. The people who cook our food, they live in the village. The people who clean our house, they live in the village. They do that not because we can't, but because I want to empower their lives. Remember, I come with a purpose and a mission to Africa, not just to see the wildlife. We have zoos in America where giraffes and rhinos and zebras are. So I've seen all those animals before, maybe not in the natural, but that's not why I'm in Africa. I'm in Africa with a mission and with a purpose, which is to empower the life of those that are most vulnerable in society so that they can have an equal opportunity to succeed, just as I've been given the opportunity to succeed, brothers.
There's something that you brought up, and I really want to talk about that. If you can talk to young people in Africa, most of them they have the idea in their mind,
Uh,
uh, if I got an opportunity, I can go to US, I can move to UK, France, Spain. They
yeah,
want to move. But there's
yeah,
something good you mentioned. I think that is genius. You said if you can figure out how you can make USD here in Africa, you wouldn't want to live. So can you please, if you can give us maybe like a device or a blueprint how a young man here can be able to make the USD without going there?
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you asked that question. That's the root of the issue. You know, people can talk about the problem, but I'm a solution-driven person. I believe in creating solutions to problems, not just talking about the problem. Africa has been dependent on Western societies for longer than we can all remember. Okay, started with the missionaries way back in the day who brought their religion and brought their culture, brought their language, because Africans don't speak French. People in France speak French. This is Africa. But that was imported to Rwanda because the French colonized Rwanda. People in Kenya speak English because the British colonized Kenya. So we got to stop looking for imported ideas. We don't need imported ideas. Africa has the brain power. I'm very impressed with my Kenyan counterparts. The intelligence level is off the charts. Okay? Their hard working is off the charts. Their creativity is off the charts. I know because everything here built in my compound was built by a Kenyan brother from the village using tools that we in America would say, I can't build a house with those tools. So these brothers still use regular saws. We have saws at home, electric saws, but they don't make excuses here in Africa. They find reasons to make it work. And with that type of ingenuity, there's nothing Africans couldn't do if given the same opportunity that our American brothers have on the other side. So part of what I want to do, like I said, the fact that we're using this technology, that's the key to the economic breakthrough for Africa. You're connected to the global economy, not just to the African economy. The internet allows you to access every business, every school, every organization around the world, whether in Asia, whether in Europe, whether in America or South America, or in one of the island nations. You have access to everything that this global economy has to offer. So I think here in Kenya, they have a thing called Jumia or Alibaba, or in America, we call Amazon. You can sell any product in the world and drop ship it. You can do any type of data entry with any organization. With my school, like I said, my daughter works as my administrative assistant. She uploads courses for my students in America, my students in Africa. When they pay tuition, I pay her. Look, you may not have a desire to move to Africa. You may want to just visit. Everybody's not going to move here, and neither should they. We need those partnerships on the other side so we can connect our brothers and sisters here to those opportunities over there. So if we can get virtual relationships started, I like to vet people. I know trusted people who are in Kenya, and I know some that I don't recommend, but I've seen some that I would. If someone gave me an opportunity, say, can you find me someone in Africa, in this case, Kenya, who I can trust to do my data entry, to do some of my research online, to do some of my communications or answering calls, I know some people that I would definitely say yes. So I'm looking for people in every country of Africa. And I'm looking for those partners in America. So if you're in America, you happen to see this video, you have a school, organization, a business, a company, you got some good human resources right here in Africa. Now, problem that happens is when American companies hire Africans, they try to pay them in African money. You see the difference? They try to pay them based on the local economy, which is probably fair, I guess it would be. But Americans can afford to pay you higher than the local wage, okay? The people that I hire, I don't hire them because I need them to do the work. I can afford to pay them, and it's not putting a strain on me whatsoever. But I want to create economic ecosystem. That's what I call it. If I could speak to my Black American friends, don't just come here to enhance your life, which you will do that. You'll get an upgrade to your life. Come here to enhance the lives of our brethren. You can afford it. You can afford to elevate their lifestyles to a whole nother level without really straining you, well, based on your financial situation. Everybody's finances are different. But for me, the money that I give away every month, I have a certain percentage of money that I declare is not mine from the time I get it. For me, that's 10% of all my money. That 10% belongs to the widows, orphans, and strangers or refugees in whatever country you're in. So that's not even spendable money by me. I'm just looking for the right places to sow that money, to create the right opportunities so that they can have a sustainable life. And so I'm looking for people in America, Europe, Asia. If you're looking to do virtual work, Africa is the place to look. Africa has the youth, it has the brain power, it has the work ethic to do your work, and you can still pay them less than your local wage, but pay them an elevated rate in Africa. So here in Kenya, we started a cafe, a food cafe in Nakuru. I don't start businesses because I need the money. I have a business in America. I don't need money from Africa. So I use my money from America to create businesses in Africa so I can put Africans to work. Okay? I fund their business. I put the seed money into the business. I furnish all the equipment for the business. I provide training, expertise for their business. Not so that I can make money, but so that the Africans can make money. So we have a cafe that serves Kenyan snacks in Nakuru. I found a person who seemed worthy of that opportunity. She proved herself to have integrity and good work ethic. And when we decided to move away from that business, we said, look, this business is now yours. Don't worry about it. The business is yours. You run the business. We'll fund the business until you're able to get it going. These are the type of opportunities that we can afford. I can't speak for every Black American because I don't know their financial situation. But for those of us who have a little bit of means, you have a responsibility. You have an obligation to empower the lives of your brothers and sisters right here on the continent of Africa, because we've all originated from here one way or the other. Now, we may be mixed with a lot of other races at this point being in America, including the Europeans, but our ancestors originated here. Black people, dark-skinned people, people with big noses like mine, with big lips like mine, they came from Africa. So we have a responsibility and we have an obligation to sow back into the lives of the people that we come from. At least that's my point of view. Everybody has their own way of living, but that's why I'm here. That's my purpose. That's my passion. And that's my joy, my brother. Life is good for me. So if you have a little bit of financial means, you have not only a responsibility, you have an obligation to reach young brothers like this brother I'm speaking to, help his media empire take off globally, not just in Rwanda, not just on the continent of Africa. The skills, the talents that you have are global. It's not just an African talent. It's not just an African outreach. Media is global. So I don't see any reason why you can't get a bunch of good interviews with the movers and shakers in America and Europe and Asia and grow your global empire big. And I know you have the skills to do it, brother, because I've seen you. So that's one way we can do it. Don't dream to go to America. Dream how you can create what makes America work right here in Africa. What makes America work is, first of all, industry. There are 3 levels for economics. I'm going to give you this right here, and this is free. Some people hold master classes charging people for information like this. This is free. There are 3 levels of economies everywhere around the world. They're the consumers. Those are the people that just buy. They buy food, they rent houses, they buy cars, they buy gasoline, they pay for electricity. Then there's the distributor. This is the person that's above the consumer. They distribute the electricity, they distribute the food. That's your grocery stores, that's your power companies. Then there's the producers. These are the people who make the real money. Okay? You need to get out of the consumer phase, at least move to the distributor phase, and ultimately get to the producer stage. In other words, you need to create something. You need to produce something. And that means that you're creating something that don't exist right now. So there are some opportunities that America does well that Africa has not yet tapped into. Find out those opportunities that are working well in America that have not yet made it to Africa. One of the things I see, because I live here in the village and a lot of people don't have access to electricity, to the power company. And a lot of people, believe it or not, don't even have little solar lights, because I was using them in America. So I started buying a lot of solar lights to put around my property. They just come on automatically at night, or they set them for motion. The villagers had never seen those. They had never seen a solar light in this village. That's a great opportunity, because if you can't tap into the national grid, which a lot of African nations don't have infrastructure where you can connect in the villages and the rural areas, solar. Hey, I found a way to invest in some solar. I may even start being a distributor of solar lights and devices here in this village. We have solar powered panels that powers all the lights on our property now. It charges the battery. All the lights come on at night based on the power stored in those batteries. Africa, that's an opportunity. And I ain't talking about the big players. I want the grassroots people to get someone to help fund even a distributorship. So I can teach you how to do it here in Kenya, and I can find ways to teach you how to do it in Rwanda or whatever country you're at. I can teach you how to get access to those things that the average African don't have access to. And at least you can go that next ladder from a consumer to a distributor for some of these goods and services. So that's one example. And anybody in the audience, reach out to me. I have what I call a business development program where I help people write business plans, come up with business ideas, check the viability of it. I've been in business for over 10 years, and it's working for me. I tell people, don't take advice from a bad example. No one can teach you to do what they've never done. I started a successful business. I run a successful business. I'm able to be financially free as a result of my business. And I'm willing, I'm able, and I'm ready to help you to build something successful for your own personal life. No strings attached. I don't need your money, okay? But you need your money. And I want to help you to be able to find ways that you can generate money right here in Africa, because everything that you need is here. All you need is the opportunity. That's all you're missing. I'm one of your avenues for opportunities. And I'm looking for other people who can be other avenues for somebody else's opportunity, my brother, my sister. So 400 years have not separated us forever. 400 years is the time Africans spent in America as slaves, okay? That 400 years is over. I think the sister said last week from Tanzania, the exodus has begun. Indeed it has. Okay, we're coming out of Egypt. We're coming out of those dry places, the places that we've been scattered all over the earth. We're finding our way back home. But when the Hebrews left Egypt, they left with the gold and the silver of the Egyptians. Bring that USD back to Africa with you, my brothers and my sisters. Let's empower our people, because Black people all around the world are the most undervalued people, okay? No matter what, dark-skinned people that look like me and look like this brother right here, we're the most undervalued people in every society. But that shouldn't be true amongst ourselves. We need to see the value in one another. I see the value in this brother. Hopefully something I'm giving information or my willingness or resources will help add value to his life and anybody in the audience. So no time for excuses now. Slavery happened. Yeah, we ended up there for whatever reason, but God worked through that. Now we can come back empowered with the Egyptians' gold and silver, and we can build empires, right? Just like we had before we were colonized. We can rebuild those broken empires that existed well before Europeans ever came to the continent of Africa. And that's a grand dream, brother, but it can be a reality. I believe it can be a reality. I'm creating a version of that reality right here in Salai, Kenya. That's why we're building other houses for guests. We want to train youth for mission work, not missionary work. We're not preaching any religion. We preach humanity, okay? I don't care what religion you are or if you have any religion. You deserve the same rights every human has.
That's amazing. Thank you for the free masterclass.
Yeah, brother, absolutely. It's a different mindset, because if you think your only opportunity exists over there, you won't look for the opportunities that are here. Because the only opportunity you're trying to do is go to the embassy and get a U.S. visa. Get a visa to go to America. Now, I've had many experiences with people from Africa through my Bible college. I wrote invitation letters. Many came for graduations in America. Some came back, some didn't. Okay? Now, so there's a pipeline for getting papers in America, okay? But you don't want to live in that system where you constantly work and looking over your back. And what I tell my African brothers and sisters, you're only African as long as you're in Africa. If you ever go to the U.S., you're no longer African. We don't care where you're from. You're Black in America, okay? You're not African in America. You're black. Okay, you can forget all this. I'm African. I'm from, no. In America, you're either black or you're white. There's no in between. And society looks at black people through a certain lens in America, and they look at white people almost like they do on the continent now. Some people call it white worship. I've seen it. I've witnessed it here in Kenya too, where the superiority complex that some white people have, not all, but some white people have a superiority complex. And unfortunately, a lot of Africans have an inferiority complex. They seem to think that something they have is better than what we have. And it's simply not true. I wish I can dispel that myth in your mind, because if you continue to think the same old way, you're going to be sitting waiting for European aid to come to save Africa. You're going to wait for the Chinese to come build roads and railway systems for you. When I tell you, this brother from the village, he don't have the same equipment we have in America, but he builds every house, every building that you see on YouTube. That's from a village worker in Kenya. I wouldn't hire anybody else, because my money deserves to go in his pocket. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Before I want to do a little tour on the YouTube, but before we can do that, I watched a video literally about someone, a black American, was saying, "Oh, I will never go to Africa," though, because he was saying Africans sold their fellow Africans as slaves. So that's why I will never go back. I will never go back to Africa.
No. Wow.
I want to hear your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic, because if you know the history of blacks in America, that's almost a statement that shouldn't be uttered. If anybody is against black people, it's black people in America. Black people are the ones who commit the most crimes against black people. Okay? You see? So that whole narrative that the blacks or the Africans in Africa sold their brothers is no different than the blacks killing blacks in Chicago, killing blacks in Atlanta, blacks killing blacks in Washington, D.C. If that's not the statement of hypocrisy, black people everywhere have been conditioned to hate each other. Okay? But we were not taught that by each other. We were taught to hate each other from other people. And as long as we continue to get the input from somebody else who's supposedly smarter than you, wiser than you, that they're more civilized than you, okay? And this is why we speak all these European languages, okay? You got to understand history. Africans didn't speak French. Africans didn't speak English. They didn't. They didn't speak Portuguese like the Mozambicans do. The Portuguese taught them that. The English taught us English. The French taught us French. We have to understand that this is somebody else's history. And so when you're living somebody else's history, you're never going to create your own history. You're only going to read the history books that they wrote. You're only going to attend the universities that they started. You're only going to get the education that they want you to get. And you will not get the education that has been lost. Now, blacks were just slaves in America. Africans were slaves in Africa. They call it colonization. It's slavery, brother. Okay? Colonization is just a pretty name for slavery. Only difference between the Africans that were colonized in America and the ones that went to America is that we were taken off this continent. The rest of you were slaves here. The French ruled you. The British ruled you. The Portuguese ruled you. The Germans ruled you. The Italians tried to rule Ethiopia but failed. Okay? So the question is, do we sell out each other? The question is, who taught us to sell each other? And now we got to be re-educated. We got to de-educate ourselves from European history. This is where the disconnect happens. Because Europeans tell us that Africans sold other Africans. Okay? Where'd you get that information from? Probably a European source. So now That season is over. We have freedom, so to speak. We have physical freedom in America, but we don't have economic freedom. I don't think most people even have mental freedom because they still attached to Europeans in their mind. We have to detach ourselves from anything European in order to discover who we are as African. And unfortunately, most people don't seem to have a desire to connect with what is African. They want to have a desire to connect with what is Western and what is European. That's where the disconnect. So I don't buy into that, not coming back to Africa because Africans sold other Africans. Look, blacks sell blacks every day in America. Blacks kill blacks every day in America. My brother, my sister, get off that European narrative. Let's relearn our history. Let's get our own self-identity that's separate from any European literature or any European history. And that's when we'll find out that, look, in spite of, even in Kenya here, and I know this is sensitive in Rwanda, but in Kenya, there's 47 different tribes. Okay? Maybe more. They all have their own language. My wife is Kikuyu. They speak Kikuyu when they're in the village. Most people hear Kikuyu. There are some other people from other tribes, but the language that connects them is Swahili. Swahili is the common language for Kenya, and English. But away from Nairobi and the big cities, people speak either just purely Swahili or their mother tongue. Okay? So I learned a little bit of Swahili. I learned a little bit of Kikuyu. And I try to speak to the people in their language and not the language that was imported into me. Born in America, you only know English. You don't know any other language. Okay? So the African intellect is way off scale. Just to switch between two languages would be impressive. But when you can switch between three languages and still understand my language, man, African intellect is off the scale. And I hope we can learn to value and appreciate one another because somebody has taught us not to appreciate each other. So that narrative about, I don't want to go back to Africa because Africans sold Africans. Well, do you say that when blacks kill each other in Chicago? Do you not want to go back to Chicago because blacks are killing blacks or selling drugs to black kids? Or Atlanta or New Orleans or New York City? See, so we got to stop that narrative. Okay, so it's time for us to find ourselves. And when we find ourselves, we'll find our place in this world, whether it's America, whether it's Africa, whether it's Rwanda, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Asia, because we will be respected as a people because we respect one another. Okay? That's my answer to that, my brother.